So here's the real question. How do dentists like you, who aren't willing to let insurance dictate how you will run your practice, who want to create incredibly profitable practices without sacrificing your time or sanity, how do you create the strategies to ensure your practice not only survives, but thrives in the 21st century? That's the blaring question, and Dr. Steve Schlintz is here to provide the answers. Welcome to Dental Practice Freedom Radio.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schlintz, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. And I'm actually at my home recording studio. I'm so excited about this. And this might be one of the last, if not the last, episodes that I ever do without or with just audio. I've actually been thinking about how do I turn this podcast into a video-based component as well. So that's really exciting. Hope it goes according to plan and hope I'm able to do it. So you might get to see me in face and audio. You might want to just listen to the audio. Just kidding, but probably. You know, what I'm going to talk about in this episode is something that is very near and dear to my heart because I've been hearing a lot of stories about coaching and being in the consulting and coaching realm. I'm seeing the other side of it. And, you know, there's a ton of coaches out there, and I know I've talked about this very specific idea a lot, but I think it's so important because this to me is what can either make or break a career is having successful coaches. And so when there's so many coaches out there now, it is hard for the potential client to be able to decipher what makes a good coach, what doesn't make a good coach, who should I be following, who should I be investing my money with, and how do I know that this is the right relationship for me? And so I literally have been thinking about this for an entire day. What makes a successful coach? And I've seen some really good ones. I've had some great ones. I've had not great ones. I've seen great ones, I've seen not great ones, and I've seen not great ones that are very, very popular in the landscape, whether it's dentistry or just overall, that I'm like, they're actually not a great coach. Like, being very good at what it is you do does not make you a good coach by default, by the way. And so just because you're great at something does not mean you should be a coach. And, you know, so I was thinking about this, like, what makes a great coach? And I think I boiled it down to the one trait that makes a successful coach. The number one trait for a successful coach is the ability for that coach to put their clients ahead of their ego. And that's it. And I've seen some people that call themselves coaches that couldn't do that, and they inevitably fail. And it teaches me, like, as a coach, I've done that before. So I'm not saying, like, I'm perfect on this, but I've put my ego ahead of my client sometimes, and it never works. It never works. Like, you have to put your client's results ahead of your own ego. Now, if you have a system that you know works and your client's, like, just is not following that system, that's one thing. But, like, if your client is telling you, hey, this isn't working for me, your job as a coach is to go figure out how to get the client the result that they were looking for. If they're putting in the work, if they're doing what, you know, you're asking them to do and they're not getting the result, you need to put your ego aside and put the client first. And you might be asking, well, I'm not really a coach. Okay. As a dentist, you have to do the same thing. You could take the same quote and just change it a little bit, and it would be equally as effective. The number one trait of a successful dentist is the ability to put their patients ahead of their own ego. Or the number one trait of a successful dentist is the ability to put your patients ahead of your own interest. See, coaching is all about giving. So if you want to be a successful coach, you have to be able to give. You have to do it from a place of love. You have to literally put the results of your clients way ahead of your own results. You know, I was asked this question the other day. I was asked, do you make more money as a dentist or as a coach? And I laughed, and I was thinking to myself, well, it's whichever one I'm really focusing on at the time. If I'm focusing more on coaching and helping dentists and other clients, like, coaching. If I'm focused more on my dentistry, it's dentistry. But I don't do coaching for the money, right? I do coaching for the love of coaching. Like I have been in a position to get some of the best mentors on planet Earth, whether it's Grant Cardone, Bob Proctor, going to see Russell Brunson 2 days in Boise, and like really working with Bob. I mean, Bob to me has been the number one coach in my life. And it started as a YouTube bromance, and it turned into me working for him as a consultant. And now I'm with one of the best companies ever. And it's able to supplement what I teach from the mindset and the case acceptance side of things. It's a perfect marriage. And Bob he's world renowned. I don't work with him individually, but his coaching style fits me very well. And then he has coaches that are completely about giving. And so when somebody asks me, like, what do you make more money in? And it's like, well, I don't do the coaching for the money. I do the coaching because I love getting the results and sharing the information that I've had to be able to better my clients, their teams, practices, lives, right? And so every day that I'm waking up, like people have asked me, what's the best part about doing what you do? Well, one is signing up clients. I love that. That's why I teach sales. Like nothing happens until a sale is made. I had somebody today, she's probably listening to this podcast, and I sent her over an invoice and we're going to get started. But I know until she pays that invoice, I'm not going to be able to help her to the highest level. But the second she pays that invoice and she's now a paid client for me, my energy focus from selling her on something to delivering what I promised to deliver her. So I don't know which part is more exciting to me. I love actually delivering results for my clients. I love when clients call me and say, hey, because of what you did, my revenue went up 300%. That's incredible. Right? And I'm teaching them to unleash more of what is already inside of them. And so the reason I bring this up is there's the flip side of this is when you have coaches, especially coaches in the industry, and this is not to badmouth anybody or this is not to get in a negative place, but you guys have to understand this. Like not all coaches are created equal, and some coaches that are doing it for the wrong reasons, or some people just shouldn't be coaches. And if you look at that equation, the trait that I gave you, they put their ego ahead of their clients. They're more focused on themselves and what they're going to get out of it versus what their clients are going to get out of it. And so I've learned this the hard way, that the second that I stopped focusing on me and the second I started focusing on helping my clients get what they want, Zig Ziglar had a quote. He said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. But if you reverse the equation, you put your ego ahead, as soon as somebody challenges you, calls you out, so it's like, hey, Steve, I tried to do this and it didn't work, and my ego is ahead of their best interest, I don't go from a place of how do I help this client? I go from a place of protecting my reputation and who I am and say, oh, you know what? You did something wrong. I'm kicking you out. You're no good, blah, blah. That's not what a coach should be doing. But crazy enough, I've seen that and I've heard of that. And that kills me inside. Like as somebody who has made a shift from doing full-time dentistry to almost more full-time coaching now, like I view my client relationships as sacred. Like this is something that somebody has put money and said, Steve, I think you can help me solve a problem. I'm willing to spend money with you to help me solve this problem. Now my focus is how do I help this client, this patient, whoever this is, to the best of my ability to get what they want, knowing that sometimes I'm going to have to put my ego aside. Not everything is going to go perfect. Think about if you're a dentist listening to this, how many times have you had a patient, they weren't happy with the treatment plan, something didn't go right, they're challenging you a little bit. Your response as a dentist is going to tell you everything about your success in your business. If your response is to shut that patient off and throw them away, and then they get a negative review and you wonder why they did that, and you say, oh, woe is me, like that response is probably going to tell me that as a dentist, you're putting your ego ahead of your patients. If you said, hey, Judy is the patient and she just wasn't happy with the experience, and said, Judy, I am so sorry. What can we do to make this right? Right? No, there's going to be patients that are they're not, no matter what you do, they're not going to be happy. But a lot of those patients is a misunderstanding. And when you put their attention and their best interest at heart first, you're going to get a much better result. So when you are thinking about coaching or you're thinking about being a dentist, you have to be able to put other people ahead of yourself. And the more you can do that, the more successful you'll be. I can 100% guarantee you that, right? Really think about Zig Ziglar's quote. And the more you fall in love with that process of putting other people first, it's called leaving everyone with the impression of increase. It's a lesson that I teach with Bob. Every time that you're in a situation with somebody, your number one job, your number one goal should be to leave that person better off than you found them before the interaction. You should never try to come from a place to make that person feel that they're less off than they were before your interaction. And if you just carry that simple thing through your daily basis, whether you're a coach, whether you're a dentist, whether you're a salesperson, whether you're a grocer, it doesn't matter. If you did that every day, you're working in harmony with the laws, and you will be much more successful than if you work against the laws. So as you're looking for coaches, this is my thing. Find somebody, A, you resonate with, B, has done something that you're trying to do, C, listen and follow them, and D, understand that if you feel like their ego and their I guess there's no better term than ego, their ego is ahead of your interest, they probably aren't the right coach for you. You need to find somebody that's going to help you get the results that you're looking for. You need to do the work. I'm not saying that you can't do the work. Like the coach is going to give you the work, you have to do the work. But the best coaches that I've seen, whether it's in dentistry, outside of dentistry, they have an innate ability to put their clients ahead of themselves. Like I wake up every morning thinking, there's a couple groups that I'm thinking of right now that are clients. I'm like, how do I help their teams? How do I help them get where they want to go using the material that I'm teaching them? They've told me where they want to go. They're huge goals. How do I help them get this result? I focus on that way more than I focus on sales. Actually, to the detriment of my business sometimes, because I'm only focused on client results, which is only half the equation. It's the getting clients and then fulfilling the client's expectations. Like those are the two things. If you can get clients and fulfill their expectations, you're going to have a successful business. Same thing in a dental practice. It's get the patients, fulfill the patient's expectations. Any business is built on sales and fulfillment, sales and fulfillment. And if you can marry those two very effectively, you'll have a successful coaching business. But it can't be all sales and no fulfillment, and it can't be all fulfillment and no sales. You have to be able to do the both. And those coaches that truly are genuine, they're giving, they usually, once they get the clients, they are just a slam dunk. So make sure if you're in a coaching relationship or you're thinking about a coaching relationship, make sure it's not all sales and no fulfillment or all fulfillment and no sales, because actually, this is crazy. You would think that as a client for a coach that doesn't have a lot of clients, you'd think this is really good. Like, I'm going to get a lot of fulfillment out of this. Yes, to a point. If they don't have any new sales coming in as a coach, they're actually not going to be able to keep you going and doing the things that you need to do, because they're going to run out of money and they're not going to be able to service you anymore. So it's actually a double-edged sword. You actually don't want to work with coaches that only have like one client at a time, because chances are their revenue is not going to be able to actually support your growth, which is crazy. You don't really think about it, but it is true. So hopefully you got value out of this one. Again, I don't want to come from a negative place, but I value you, the listener, so much that I've just seen this way too often, especially in dentistry. Like this is happening all the time in dentistry. People are being led on wrong paths. They're getting wrong advice. They're not getting successful coaching. They're not being put first, and they're really losing. And I just don't want that to happen anymore. So that's my stand. I'm putting my foot in the ground. Listen, go find great coaches. Go learn from these great coaches. I'm not even saying necessarily from me, although I'm biased. I think I'm a good coach now. But the reality is, like, it doesn't matter where you get the coaching, but you've got to make sure they're fitting this criteria. You've got to make sure that they're helping you get where you want to go, and then do everything that they're telling you to do. Pay the money, pay the price, and I guarantee you're going to be so much more successful as a result. So thank you for listening to this. Thank you for reviews, your ratings. I appreciate that. I'd love to continue to see those reviews and ratings come in. It allows me to spread this podcast further. And there's a link in the bio if you want to work with me anymore. I'd love to be able to talk to you, just see where you're at, whether you're a coach, you're a consultant, you're in a practice, you're a dentist. I'm able to help you at various levels and just see if it's a good fit. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you at the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode on Dental Practice Freedom Radio with Dr. Steve Schlintz. We'll see you on the next episode.